Good morning, everyone. Otsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is the Knowhere market update for Wednesday. This is my Wednesday video. Man, we are already through the week. We have lots to discuss today. Price action has, for the most part, kind of went into a different direction than what I had mentioned in the past few days. Now, it has gone in the general direction. It has gone a little more fiercer than I expected. We're going to go into that. I did kind of expect that we would have a red 2 or 3 days. We have a little bit more of a pullback than I was expecting, but not much. Nothing that's really surprising me. And so we'll address that. We'll go through Bitcoin. I want to talk about Bitcoin a little bit today, especially with the Bitcoin Dominance Chart going on to Ethereum. Everybody seems to be talking about Ethereum, so we're going to discuss that. I don't know why there's an obsession. I think I know why. I think it's basically what people want Bitcoin to do, and they're not doing it, so they're just going to pick on Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum has been relatively weak for the whole year, honestly. So we'll get into that. I want to address coins like Solana and MATIC and things like that that have divergences, and so that's going to be a big topic for this video as well. And then we're going to get to a few things. I might talk friend tech. I'm going to definitely talk some updates for Discord here in a second. And then I'm going to cover some alts because this is mainly meant to be an altcoin video that is for everyone. And so in the past few weeks, that has not been the case. And I kind of want to go back to those roots. So let's get started. And I think you'll enjoy this video. So first things first, we're going to go to Bitcoin on the 1 day. We're going to cover dominance in just a second. But I want to give an overall update for Bitcoin in general, specifically in regards to the double breakers. I kind of want to mention a few things first, and we'll just go over that. So, the past 2 days we've had the rejection. Here was your local top. Technically, yes, we did have a blow off, sort of, and SPF, whatever you want to call it. I don't really prescribe as heavily as other people do, and I think you can do some long term damage trying to force patterns wherever you see. Now, it may work for you. That's okay. I'm not here to challenge what you do or you don't do. But as far as patterns themselves, it's very unwise, in my opinion, to like force. Okay, this is an FPF or SP swing failure pattern. I can't remember the order of that, and I apologize if you think that I'm stupid because of that, and I don't really care. But anyway, when you have swing pattern failures, the general idea is, well, if you back test them, they're always at the top. And yes, that's absolutely true. If you go to back test, you will find that SPFs tend to be at the top. However, they also tend to be at the bottom, at the middle. They are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're all over the place. Okay, so the fact that somebody maybe has said a swing failure pattern and this goes down, well, that's not necessarily because they're accurate, it's because it happens all the time. Okay. So I want that to keep in mind too. There's really, unless you're trading on lower time frame, there was really no action here, right? So if you go down to like the 1 hour, I mean, yes, you could do this based off of the divergence. And so that was a good setup right there. Pretty good. But now you have a run down here, you have a retest, a little bit of a bullish price action, so to speak. I don't want to say that necessarily because it's not bullish, but we had a small uptrend, and now we're retesting that again. And so there's a lot to say in that. It could go down. That's not where I'm going with this. The point is that the R&R for the short side has still been very limited, and so I'm concerned more about high time frame action right now because there's not a lot of buyers and sellers if we're all being honest. I saw something today that said that the buyers are exhausted. Like what are you talking about? I mean, it's true depending on what you're talking about, but the sellers have been exhausted for quite some time. So it's like I don't know really what's going on with that statement. I really think some people just try to state things just to feel better about themselves, but we've been in an uptrend for pretty much the whole year. I don't understand why all of a sudden we need to be bearish, you know, and some people were bearish up here at 30,000. That's fine. If they are, they're in profit. But the point is like you can't reasonably make a lot of money on the bearish side long term. Like long term, bulls are always going to be easier at making money. For one, you can do that with spot. You don't have to do that with leverage, and that's the big thing. I think we need to create separation between people that mainly spot trade and people that leverage, because people with leverage trading and scalp trading are going to have a much different perspective on how they view the charts and the markets versus other people. And there's also other things like sellers are exhausted, sweep the lows, market makers do this. Like a lot of that is prestidigitation and isn't something that anybody needs to worry about. And quite frankly, if you look back to the roots on where you got that from, it's just because somebody else said it and you don't really know where they got that from. So a lot of times you're not those people aren't really saying anything. Okay? And I'm really just tired of pretending that they can trade. I really am. Nobody gives you proof that they can trade. Okay, including me. I mean, I don't show you my P&L charts, but that's not how I operate. Okay, I share what the charts are telling you. I take more of an educator stance, and I'm telling you, a lot of these people that flash their P&Ls, like come on now, like I've been through this for 6 years now. Okay, I've been crypto trading for 6 years. I've been stocks trading for 8. You mean to tell me that there's all these people that have all this kinds of money, but yet they're still online. They still got hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're still trying to engage bait because they want a paycheck from Elon Musk. You mean to tell me, like some of these people were adjacent to some of the scammers that we had earlier this year, like Trader NJ and stuff like that, that begged for $200,000 a piece because they need the money. Well, why do they need the money if they've been such a hot trader for all these years? Why do they need $200,000? It's because they're scammers, and we need to call it out like we see it. So anyway, I digress from that. That's not why I'm here. But what I want to see from the technical side, or what I want us to see rather, is that when we had this push up here, we launched above here, and there's numerous reasons for that. Mainly, it was from liquidations. And again, it doesn't matter what the case was. It news? Was it liquidation? Doesn't matter. I look at price from its from the bare aspect of it. I don't look at any other external factors, and we can see what the market's telling us to see. And so what we have here is a double breaker. Now, what is a double breaker? I will mention that. So we'll go here. I'll do a horizontal array. And so when this breaks above, and so let me zoom in a little bit and kind of get this. Trading View is becoming crap lately. Okay, I can't even function with these buttons anymore. So I just had to get that out of my system. So when you have this swing up, that's completely fine. There is a small breaker here, but nothing really of significance. It's kind of what you got here going on, but that retest and that's fine. So there is a chance that we could go back down to 26.6. But what I want to mention here is this one. So we had a push up here. So we had a retest. It blew through the retest point, and it blew through this retest point as well. Now, when this occurs, this is called a breaker. When this happens one time, this is a breaker. Well, this happened actually twice. So this is now a double breaker. Double breakers don't tend to happen that often. And so when they tend to happen, we tend to get more choppy price action in the near future. The reason for that is because there's a discrepancy between the supply and demand. The demand became too strong too fast, and it didn't challenge the other price points. And that's all it is. Like, this is trading and market stuff is supply and demand. Okay? And some of it's from a visual standpoint, some of it's from a technical standpoint. And you need to understand, okay, the more people the more that people look at the charts, the more people are going to look at charts for reactions. However, that's not what old school people used to do. This used to be from a psychology standpoint. So we need to come at this from, what people tend to do versus what we think that they will do. And there's a lot of detail in that. If you are interested, that's something that I talk about in the academy. So going on, we have a double breaker here, and when that tends to happen, we tend to retest both. Well, we retested this one the next candle over. In addition to that, we also have to retest this one, which we technically did, but typically breaker rules are a little bit different, and so we typically have to close below that as well. So this gives you some issues here. So for one, we have to come back down immediately, and that's not necessarily favorable to a lot of people, and that's where we've had a lot of red price action lately. On the second thing that we have to be concerned about is now this creates a deviation, which is a very strong, excuse me, it's a very strong reaction. I'll just get rid of that because it's not important. So now we have this structure here, and so we have we have to restructure this. Okay, so now you have your deviation. So now I'm going to mark out the deviation like so. This is your full deviation. Ignore this part. Here's your deviation to the bottom side, which was your fake out. So now this becomes your range. This becomes your new modified range, and typically this doesn't happen very often. This is a unique scenario. It might happen a couple times a year. So that's what we got to work with. It's not necessarily dangerous for any reason. It's just what we have to work with. Now we also have the trend line, and I erased it, but it may the trend line itself actually may not be very strong because it's really only like 2 points here. So let's kind of zoom back in again, get rid of all this. Man, Trading View just sucks lately. I'm tired of pretending like it's the best thing. I mean, it's probably the best that's offering, but they know that and they lower the bar, and I hate it. So anyway, now you have a trend line. That's not exactly the most strong trend line. If it breaks, I'm not too concerned because it's only been touched twice. So this is the area from here, from the top, and this triangle is what we got to work with on the bullish side. This could come down all the way basically to 26,000 and still be bullish. And that's where I think there's a difference between people online and people on Knowhere, because well, people like me and like other influencers, I should say. I'm not an influencer, but the issue is like this still looks good to me. Like I've got no reason to think that this is bearish. Okay, yes, there are people that are making money off shorts, and you can, and you're more than welcome to do so. It's not about that. But I'm looking from a swing perspective. This still looks pretty good. So right now we're just creeping above here. We have this retest point to consider, and that's kind of where we're really all of this. And so this doesn't look too bad to me. I mean, yeah, it looks choppy and it's not professional, but I mean, how many times do you get that anyway? See what I'm saying? Like, the reason for this is because for the past year we haven't had a lot of buyers and sellers. And so we had buyers and sellers down here because people were interested in that price point. People are not interested in 30,000. People were interested in 25,000. Well, they're not interested here. So you got to figure out where that goes, right? And so I am I do not prescribe to the idea that we are going to go back down to 10,000, okay? And if you cross-reference the people that are short and euphorically, they're bearish right now and they're euphoric already after like a 5% move down. And if you cross-reference their post, you will see that they are the ones that make the magic bullcrap squiggle lines down to 8,000, okay? They'll do something like this. They go like this and it's like all the way down. Well, why? Like why? I don't understand the reasoning behind that. Like you make these squiggles, and I'm so tired of all the squiggles or the just the random lines on a chart that make no sense. Okay, you made a bunch of squiggles all the way down to 5,000. Well, why? Why does that make sense? Why should we believe you? Okay, you got 100,000 followers, so what? You know how many people with 100,000 followers have been to jail now? Like, I need to have proof. When I first started in crypto in 2017, there was a motto: don't trust but verify. Like, where's the verification? And we don't need it anymore. And this is one reason why a lot of people uh, scam you or focus on engagement posts, and we know who they are. So this is not something that's, you know, out of the ordinary for somebody, right? So I just I just want to mention that. So anyway, we have the double breaker here, getting ready to retest that, and that's about it with Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, and we'll kind of look at this. So I didn't want to stay too long on the dominance chart. One thing I did want to mention is that on a weekly time frame, we have this all-time trend line that we got going on. And this is a result going all the way back from 2017. We have never closed above this line. And we are approaching above this. We're approaching towards this line. And when we do, and it's only happened twice, right? Here we had, this was the sharp decline in or Bitcoin dominance, and when that happened, that's when the altcoin run started. This also was an altcoin run, and when it started. Now we're approaching it for a third time. Is this going to create an altcoin run? I don't know. Is it worth paying attention to? Absolutely, I think so, because there's a lot of alts that look like they're going to get ready to go higher. I mean, yeah, there's some that look bad, and there's some divergences. We'll get into that, but keep in mind that this might take another month to play out. And so that's where people don't seem to understand. Like the thing that pisses me off too is like you have these stupid memes like Uptober. Like that's so stupid and childish. Okay? And we go one day red and everybody's like, "Oh, Uptober's over." You know, just freaking log off. I mean, seriously. Are we this stupid and childish? Like it's one freaking day. Can we just I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm really done. Okay, like it doesn't mean that we're gonna go 300% in 30 days straight with 30 green candles. Okay, 31, whatever. Just because we get one red day doesn't mean anything. Okay, and the market's not doing that bad. It's really not. A lot of people are just too euphoric. If they're too this excited about a 5% move, it tells you more about their attitude of this market than about their trades. So anyway, with the Bitcoin dominance, excuse me, I would like to see a touch up here. I think we could even see maybe a little bit a move to the upside. Actually, I probably should just set an alert here since we're no, that's fine. I have it on exponential. I think that's why. No, I don't. I don't know why. I don't care. So once we get up to there, I think we could start triggering an alt rally. So we'll look at some alts, see how that goes. I'm going to go to ETH now and see just what the heck people are talking about because it doesn't really look that bad to me either. All right, let's go to Ethereum, and already I can see how things look just fine on the weekly. I did cover the weekly in observations, but we have a massive ascending triangle that's been there for like a whole freaking year, and we're still retaining this structure. So what is bearish about this? Okay, this is the problem that I have is because when you get people are typically either bullish or bearish. One of the two. The problem is if you do that preemptively, you will start to look at things from that perspective. I hate the word bias because bias does not fit the structure of what you should be looking for. I don't look for bullish bias or bearish bias. I see what the charts are doing, okay? If I have a bias at any time, I'm automatically wrong because it's not about having a bias. If things look bullish, should I have a bullish bias? No, I shouldn't. I should look at what the charts are saying. Okay, being biased means you're going to try to favor something in a prejudiced way, in a sense. And that's not how you should look at it. If things look bullish to me, am I going to try to look for a bullish setup? Yes. But I need to understand that things can change anytime. Okay? That is why you hear things like flipping bias. Like, I'm so tired of the language. Like, can we just freaking trade the charts? This looks clear as day. We are still in this structure. Yes, it is a high time frame. Yes, it can go down a little bit more. Yes, there's other issues going on. But so far, nothing has changed really since the past year. We're still above a price action point from earlier this year. Okay? If we zoom this in, we can see the structure that I have here. This is my daily structure. We are crossing through it, but we still have 4 days to go, a little over 4 days to go. So let's zoom in and see what I'm talking about. So here we have these order block structures. We have the double top. Technically, this was also a deviation. It was not a breaker. This was your breaker. Okay, so we do have that to work with. It wasn't from up here, it was down below. So we could retest back below to the $1,600 range, which is only $40 away. So from what I see, I we could see a reclaim of this area, and if we do that, this is a perfectly good structure still. I don't see I honestly just don't see it. I don't see why like a small move to the downside should equate down to 1,000 Ethereum. It's because people want to fuel their bias, and their bias is false. Their bias is over exaggerated. I'm not saying that we can't get 1,000, and I'm not saying that they're wrong necessarily. It's not where I'm going with this. Trading is subjective in that regard. However, it the perspectives are so weird to me. Like, can't we just trade normally? I really think I'm just gonna start. I don't know what we're gonna do, but as far as the structure goes, we should be holding this. If we don't, we're gonna retest back to this point, about 16,000, and that's really the last line of defense. We should hold this, and if we don't, I think it's gonna cause a lot of problems, and understandably so. I understand that, but if we do that, we're probably looking at 1,500 even right here. For one, we might test the lows first, about 1530, but then the thing is, where are you going to go after that? Let me zoom into the two. Let me zoom out, I should say, to the 2 day to give me more real estate here. The problem is if we go down below the structure, okay, yeah, we might break this, and if we do, so what? Like, these trend lines aren't necessarily like solidified in stone, but the problem is like now you have the structure to contend to, and we're already in this structure, but that goes all the way down to 1430. You mean to tell me we're going to go even lower than that? And then even if you do, now you got these two structures, and then you got this one. So the problem with going down is that you don't know what you're asking, because we have a lot of structures to go through, and we're not going to just bulldoze through these structures. If we do, you can say goodbye to Ethereum, at least for the next 12 months. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's what the headlines are trying to tell you to say. But for me, I'm looking at the charts. I'm telling you what the charts say as of now. Okay. I had a comment in Discord. It was a good comment, honest comment. So I appreciate that. So that I'm not. That's please take that as a different light from what I'm going to say now. And the structure. The comment was about macro, like Otsu. Why are you so bullish right now when the macro is so bearish? And there's a lot of reasons. I gave reason for that. And again, I appreciate the comment. I appreciate my follower, and I appreciate everything about that, right? And I gave a good hearty answer. They gave a good hearty response. Good conversation. I appreciate that. But from a different note, there's a lot of people online that are following the macro extensively, and they have been wrong most of the time. And the idea about macro is designed to instill fear in you to get you to not trade. And I even had a follower kind of mention, to kind of tag team with this a little bit, that when times are fearful, usually that's a good time to buy. I don't remember exactly what they said, but that's roughly what they said. So with that, I think it's worth noting, like, you see all these people, like, honestly, most of the time, most of the bad news, the fear, doom and gloom is not from media sites. It's from people on Twitter and people online saying the housing market's doing this. We've never had this before, and there's only a sign. Like, you know, just shut up. Just shut up. Like, you see that all the time. You see Zero Hedge doing that. You see everybody doing that. Like, these are accounts that are supposed to be sharing like headline information, and they're adding their own spin. This is no different than legacy media, and so if I had $1 for every time I heard about the housing market, I wouldn't even be online. I'd be retired, or talking about commodity. It's everything. It's the stocks. It's the dang DXY. It's everything. Everybody is talking about doom and gloom, but it's all just what they feel. And so if you're listening to this, when you see that again, look at what they are saying. Look for keywords. Like, I feel that things are going to go this way. Or it seems like this will do this. Those are all emotional based. Watch out for that. Those are the words that show you that they are more fearful than anything, or they just want to bait somebody. But as far as the actual markets, we're holding, and that's the thing. That's what I want people to understand. Because if a market is holding, it is holding. Okay, you should not look at this as a break. This has not broken. This is not even a potential break. And even if it is a potential break, I'll give you that. I can view this as a potential break. I don't agree with that, but let's ride with that. Potential is the key word. And it depends on your trading perspective. If you are trying to trade with potentiality in mind, then go for it. I don't work that way. I don't look at what potentially could happen. I look at what could happen because I can tell you I know some big accounts in this space, and some of them I've done work for, and they don't know squat. Okay, they why do you think I'm a popular ghostwriter, by the way? Because I get hired by some people. I don't take any scam work at all. I don't do any scam work at all. But some of these people outsource their content because they know they can get a sponsorship. I guess it's confession time, so to speak. But some of these people market they if you haven't known by now, some of the people that have a high follower count do so for marketing purposes. Have you ever thought about that? You ever wondered why these people don't know what they're talking about? Is because they are entertainers, they're influencers. Now, none of what they do for there are scammers, but there is a good amount of people that aren't scammers. They're just idiots, or they know what they're doing, but they walk a fine line, so nothing they do is technically illegal. And the discussion about whether that's morally right, I think, is a different discussion because I think there is a lot of gray. I think there's a lot of black and white mixed together. But for some of those people, focus on getting a crowd. They end up getting a sponsorship, and I've seen sponsorships as high as 30,000 a month. And I'm not even talking about big names like Haska. I'm talking about like medium names. Okay, if you like, I've got 9,000 followers, and I could probably get a sponsorship for 3 grand if I want. I have no sponsorships right now, and I don't really want them right now. Um, but I've known people that have had 10,000 per sponsor, $10,000. Okay, and so what they do is they get a sponsorship for $10,000. They hire somebody else like me, and I've had this multiple times. You know, and they outsource to people like me or an assistant that they hire. We work together. They spend 5 grand on all that. So, you know, would you work for 5 grand as a ghost person? Yeah, I think most people would. And so they get to pocket that free 5 grand. Now, yeah, maybe that got cut in half, but a lot of that's, I made up some of the numbers. I want to keep a lot of that anonymous, right? So because again, none of this is illegal. Okay, that's just how people work, and so there's no law saying that somebody like that's the point of social media, right? So the thing is, that's not trading, okay? And so when you look at someone of a high follower count, you for some reason you believe that they are authentic, and some of them are, and the people that they hire are probably authentic as well. So you're probably getting good data, okay? But they are outsourcing it. So anyway, I've been an outsource for numerous people. If I name dropped, you would be shocked. So Anyway, the point is that's not trading though. Okay, so this is trading. It's a little much different story. And so when it comes to that, at the I say all this to say, like, I've known people that had their lives wrecked monetarily and mentally because they followed some idiot influencer. Okay, and like I said, I don't work with any scammers, but you guys, at the end of the day, I sympathize with the follower. You know, there's people that have had their lives ruined because they follow some person that doesn't know how to trade, and I'm trying to teach you how to trade. So, with that in mind, this is what I see. Okay, we have not broken down on this just yet. Um, we could, but I do think the fear mentality has set into full effect. And I say this to your advantage. You need to wake up. Do I think that we're going to go to 10,000 Ethereum within the 12 months even? No, I don't think so. But I do think that the R&R for long-term bearish price action is completely over. And so with that, you need to shift your mentality. And I say that as a former bear myself. Like, I have a lot of bear PSDT or whatever you call it. Um, from 2018, I was too afraid to trade. I would sell every pump, and I missed a lot of money. Okay, there's probably three different occasions where if I just stuck to simple ideas, I would probably be retired or very close to retirement. I've got one condo right now in a different country. I'm planning to buy a second one. You know, I could have five right now, you know, and have maybe 10 times the money that I have now. So, anyway, I say all that to say just be mindful of the price action. I think the tide is turning. Does that mean things will get easier right now? No, it won't. But just be mindful of that. I don't want you to have the same mistakes that I take. And if I can prevent at least a few people from not having bear PTSD, then I think that's a good thing. So, there are risks involved, yes. But I think the time right now is not to focus on the right now, it's to focus on the market ahead. So, anyway, that's Ethereum. Pretty simple, honestly. So, I kind of ranted instead, but we'll continue with Solana and some alts. We're going to look at Solana now. Kind of go into a few things. The market's starting to recover just a little bit, and see, this is my concern. I did take a little bit of break, if you guys may have wondered, but this is why I tell you guys to focus on trends and subtrends together because things work back and forth, back and forth. So just because something continues to go down doesn't mean it's not going to go up at any time. And yes, that's not a good valid methodology to trading, but it kind of is as well because you need to understand things go up and down. Now, you just need to pair that with, well, how can I find ways that it will go up and down? Because when somebody looks at the charts and just blindly says, okay, Solana's down 4%, it's going to go down another 4%. Like, you should never think that way, honestly. Like, it doesn't happen. That happens much less than you think it does. So anyway, I'll digress from that. But what I want to mention here with Solana is that there's a few different things. One, we had the breakout of this triangle here, and now we're retesting it. This is a clear retest. This is not bearish here. This is a bullish retest right now, and this looks like it's good to go potentially for higher. There are other things to keep in mind. I mentioned that in my observations video and also in my mini market updates in Knowhere. What I also want to see here, however, is that we did have a divergence here on the 12-hour, and a lot of these do have divergences. If we kind of zoom in, even more so to the 4-hour, this was a slope that I mentioned that would get pushed down to the downside. On the 1-hour time frame, if you're in my Knowhere Discord channel, I position this as a short position, and we are currently in profit, and we are doing most of the way there. In fact, yeah, this is still an open trade. So, and that's one of the things. If you want to take profit, you can. But why? Like, this is the proposition that I favored. Like, why would you want to close a position early? And that's more so to do with general trades out there, because I see people that make positions like this and then they always cut it, and I'm like, well, why did you do that? Like, there was no point to draw this. Okay, so this is the position that we currently have. It's currently open. It's doing well, and this is what I mentioned on Monday, that we would see some downside. So people tend to associate with me as bullish price action, which is true, but I was proposing bullish price action last week, and I mentioned that going into the weekend. And when I discussed my mini markets on Monday and my observations on Monday, I said, hey, we're going to get about 2 or 3 days worth of bearish price action, and we have. And so now we're going to see whether this remains to go down or not. So let's go ahead and look at some 12-hour positions here. So we also had a push up here on XRP. I think it was some ruling, and this looks okay. Again, this is a fade. It got retested, but other than that, it's I would really want this to play the break of the range. In fact, I think I'm just going to move that up here and wait for that, because it might happen. We'll see. So, but other things, I think I want to look at, was it MATIC? Yeah, we had a divergence here on MATIC. That was another position that I was looking at. And so I want that to keep in mind, that we've had divergences across the board. And so I'm trying to look for the other ones. But MATIC is a pretty good example of that too, is that we have a divergence, and I don't understand why people just don't understand, like, divergences are a thing. After all these years, we should understand that. So, and so it's one of those things that it happens, and we should not be surprised when bearish price action happens or when bullish price action happens for the opposite. So anyway, just a little quick thing about divergences. So I'm going to go through a couple more alts and just kind of maybe end the video after that. I'm going to start with Link first. Kind of doing a little bit of a pump today, but honestly, from a high time frame perspective, nothing has really changed. And I kind of want to mention briefly about high time frames and low time frames, is that very often people get these confused. And so you should not be thinking about high time frame when you look at low time frame, and vice versa. You should look at these as almost two unique disciplines, because you can't, like if you get like a weekly perspective, and a lot of charts look amazing on the weekly, and that's why I focused on Bitcoin dominance earlier in this video, because the market looks good for an altcoin rally within the next 2 to 4 months, and probably more so in this month, honestly. And it could start sometime this month. And so that's just an idea. But things seem to be forming on the higher time frame. On the lower time frame, however, that is not the case right now, and you need to build up for those positions. So I'm looking for high time frame trades. Even now, a lot of my Aron stuff has printed bullish signals on the daily and higher. And so that's why I'm focused on the higher time frames. Okay, I don't care what Link does on the 5-minute chart or what Solana does on the 15-minute chart. I'm looking at what the market is doing on the 3-day chart. And I'm setting myself up for that, because if you always try to look at high time frame analysis through a low time frame lens, you're never going to build a portfolio that matters for that high profits for those high time frames. So going on to Chainlink, what I really want to see from a high time frame perspective is a break right basically at 10. I'm not interested. I have no link at all. I'm not interested in buying until we get 10. Even so, I would much rather prefer to buy Solana, because the R&R for Solana is good. I don't think either one of them is typically bad. I do think that the R&R is going to be better for Solana. At least I think so. Let me check here. So roughly here, it's 600% to all-time highs, I think. Yeah. Whereas Solana is like 12, is like a 12x. So Solana is much more of a reward. And I do think both of them have a chance to go up to all-time highs. I really do. But I think Solana's the better reward with that. So wanting a break of 10, but it is targeting to mid and it's bouncing back off, so that's good. I want to zoom into 4 hour. We have a, where's it at here? dang, trading view. Like you have this situation here, which is kind of a retest for now. It needs to reclaim 780 to give me anything on the bullish side. Another coin that I think is actually pretty good. I think that this is a very underrated coin, especially given its market cap, is Phantom. Phantom looks amazing to me right now, and I don't really see why people aren't really noticing this. So we broke down below the legacy, and that's what this top bar is. This is all the way from well, from 2022, I should say. So not super legacy, but it has some other price action from back here. So what I want to see here is that we pushed below here, we reclaimed, and now we got a pretty good candle forming here, and we still got 6 hours, 6.5 left to go. This looks really good as far as when you get a high time frame reclaim like this. It's a pretty good bullish sign in my opinion, especially when we got the bullish flip on the RSI. We got a bearish consolidation, but that's so far it's holding up, so that's a good sign. Overall, I like this a lot. This is a coin that we discussed in Knowhere that we could get something like this. Looks pretty good, and this would be something that Phantom would be a coin that I'm interested in holding as well. I'm not sure how well it will perform. I don't know a lot of details behind the project, but I have a feeling that it would be worth holding on to in the long run. But just looking at its performance over the history, but I think this is a good coin for the near future. I think you could set up a position here. You could sell a position like that. So let's say sorry, I'm kind of fumbling my words a little bit, but I would present something like so. Like you could take profits here and have another position way up here. So you got basically 2 plus 7 is 9. So I think that's pretty good, honestly. And so I don't know how long that will take, but that's a good setup that looks really good to me. Another one is GRT. This is another one that we looked at Knowhere, and we didn't get what we wanted. We got the push back below, and so this is push back within the wedge. So with this in mind, I would like to see this to get a small reclaim first, maybe above the RSI. But we are getting a bullish A-ring consolidation, so there is a chance that this could recover. I'm not interested in buying this until we get this 50 flip on the RSI, but I am monitoring it. So unfortunately, it's one of these coins that we should have got the push up. We got the rejection instead. Um, I don't like this, so I'm holding off on this position. And these might be a little bit over exaggerated, I guess, at this time, but they look pretty good when we had the build up coming up. But it happens. So another one is MATIC. We have a good push up from this kind of wedge formation. We had the run up with this. We're getting a good build up on the lower time frame. For the consolidation, we do have a bearish divergence, so we need to keep that in mind. If we get anything stronger than that, we should see a break below. If we zoom up to the daily, however, we have a flip like at this area, and this is the area that I'm interested in. As long as we hold this, I'm bullish. I don't necessarily care. See, that's the thing. I'm looking at levels to levels. I don't look at candles and wicks per se when I'm looking at levels, because the levels are more important than candles and wicks with that. So if I get a bearish looking candle, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get bearish price action, because the levels are going to hold. The levels take precedence over the particular ways the candles look. And we need to start maturing ourselves as traders to stop looking at how candles look versus what the candles are doing. Okay, I'm really tired of the vernacular, like this candle looks bad, or the market looks bad, or this looks bad, or this looks good. Like, why? Give me reasons, give me an explanation, give me data, and then I can work with that. Because at the end of the day, the data is going to tell us what the market's going to do. And this is one reason why I focus on ARIN, because ARIN kind of tells me what the market is going to do. And I wish more people used it, but I don't want you to use it if it won't make you money. So anyway, that's MATIC. I like this a lot as long as it holds here. In fact, it's also like here as well. Like that's holding as well. So I like that even better for if you want more of an aggressive trade. And then last but not least is COSPA. COSPA is another coin that I've had on my mind lately. We've had a pretty good run up for now, but now we're kind of building up here. So now the issue at hand is, are we going to continue to rally or not? So the short version is I'm expecting some downside price action just because of the slope on this. Now that, again, I have to stay the course of what I said earlier in this video, that this has not broken down yet. So as long as this has not broken down, then I think that we can continue to expect some upside. We did get a deviation, so that is also a concern. So overall, the deviation plays in to the break of the slope. And so now, here's your new level. And I think I actually want to push this up to the all-time high marker. So this is your new level. So a break of this green is where I want to see direction. So if this breaks up above 5.4, then I want this to go higher and I will bid higher. If this goes down below, if this is shortable, I will consider a short position. If not, I would probably focus down here at this line where the breaker is at 4.2. And I think that's, yeah, that's about where the line was anyway. So that would be the first option. Second option would be right here at 3.59. So that's Caspa. Very short and sweet with that one. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good day.